During World War II, the Third Reich poured vast amounts of resources into ambitious engineering projects designed to demonstrate German might. Amongst probably the most extreme was the Schwerer Gustav, a massive railway gun that remains the largest artillery piece ever used in combat. Weighing over 1,300 tons and capable of firing shells the weight of a small car, this enormous weapon was less a practical tool of war and more of a symbol of Nazi military ambition. Despite its colossal scale, the Schwerer Gustav's operational usefulness was actually rather limited, and its legacy today is one of awe, absurdity, but also futility. To support our channel, please click subscribe. The Schwerer Gustav emerged from Adolf Hitler's desire to break the impenetrable French Maginot Line, a formidable string of fortifications along France's eastern border. In the late 1930s, Hitler approached the Krupp's Arms Company to develop a super-heavy siege weapon capable of destroying reinforced concrete bunkers up to 7 meters thick and punching through a meter of solid steel armour. Krupp's engineers, led by Dr. Erich Müller, responded with an unprecedented design, a railway-mounted gun with an 80cm bore, the largest ever built. The gun itself was named after Gustav Krupp, the head of the family company. The design called for the barrel over 30 metres long and a firing range of up to 47 kilometres, that's roughly 30 miles. It would be able to launch a 7-ton armour-piercing shell with enough power to reduce any known fortification, any castle, anything to complete rubble. Work began in 1937, but due to its complexity and sheer scale, the first gun wasn't ready until 1941, ironically long after France had already fallen and the Maginot Line had been bypassed. So in theory, the initial reason it was created, it didn't really exist. The Schwerer Gustav was not a weapon that could be quickly or discreetly deployed. The gun and its support system required nearly 25 train cars to transport. To prepare the site for firing, 4,000 men had to lay a dual set of parallel railway tracks. Once the gun was positioned, it took 3 full days just to assemble it. 2 massive cranes mounted on railway platforms were required to put the gun together, and a dedicated fire control system with observers in aircraft and on the ground was needed to direct its fire. Once set up, the gun had to be laboriously aimed by moving it along a curved track. Schwerer Gustav had no traverse mechanism of its own. It also required cooling after each shot due to the heat and pressure generated inside the barrel. This logistical nightmare limited the gun's flexibility and made it a prime target for Allied aircraft attacks, which is partly why it was only used sparingly and in very specific situations. Now, the only confirmed combat use of the Schwerer Gustav was during the 1942 siege of Sevastopol, a heavily fortified Soviet port in Crimea. As part of Operation Barbarossa, German forces were attempting to eliminate Soviet resistance on the Eastern Front. The Gustav was transported to the Crimea over a period of several weeks, and more time was needed to build up the gun site. Over several days in June 1942, Schwerer Gustav fired 48 shells at Soviet positions. These included the White Cliffs of the Severnayer Bay, underground ammunition depots, and the concrete domes of Fort Stalin. One particular famous shot destroyed a subterranean ammunition magazine buried over 30 meters deep under solid rock, creating a crater 30 feet deep. The destruction was immense, but by then the battle had already swung in Germany's favour. The gun's psychological and propaganda value far outweighed its strategic utility. A second version of the weapon nonetheless, named Dora, likely after the daughter of one of the engineers, was completed and deployed briefly during the Battle of Stalingrad, but was never fired in combat. Plans for even larger versions, including a self-propelled variant and the infamous Land Cruiser P-1500 Monster, a mobile land battleship equipped with the Schwerer Gustav's gun, were considered but never built. These designs reflected the increasingly unrealistic and megalomaniac ambitions of Hitler's inner circle. As Germany's situation deteriorated, the Schwerer Gustav became more of a liability than an asset. The original gun was eventually returned to Germany, and later destroyed by German forces in 1945 to prevent its capture by the advancing Allies. The remains were discovered by American troops near Auerbach in Saxony. Dora was also found in a heavily damaged state by the US Army, and this was later dismantled. Today, no full versions of the Schwerer Gustav survive, but shells and smaller components can actually be seen in military museums in Germany and also other countries such as the former Soviet Union. The gun has entered historical legend, often cited as the most extreme example of Nazi Germany's over-reliance on wonder weapons that were costly, difficult to deploy, and ultimately, let's face it, ineffective. The Schwerer Gustav has been described as a technological marvel and as an engineering monstrosity. It demonstrated the incredible industrial capacity of Germany's arms industry, but also the strategic short-sightedness of a regime that prioritised spectacle over substance. It required vast resources, thousands of workers, and complex logistics for even very limited tactical gains. In many ways, the Schwerer Gustav encapsulates the contradictions of the Nazi war effort. Innovation born out of desperation, scale without sustainability, and ultimately ambition without direction. While it remains a fascinating piece of military history, it also stands as a monument to the folly of building the biggest weapon without asking whether it's actually the right weapon or not for the job. Thanks for watching. To support our channel, please click subscribe and share, it really does help. And once again, thanks for watching.